Bring Morris County Fiscal Court to order, May 17th, 2016. We'll start with the agenda under guests. Our first guest this morning is Brian Flynn with Rivercrest Engineering. Good morning, sir. Good morning. Yes, sir. And I know you've got some stuff to pass out to us. Just so you know who to pass it out to, the three commissioners should get a copy. You get that. Des will get that, help you get that.
We'll share one, or need to.
Brian is here this morning to follow up on the court sent him out to look at the two projects that we had currently, Aurora Sanitation Number 1 and the Oak Level Project, water project.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity to be here. I wear a coat and tie on for funerals and weddings. I wasn't sure which this was going to be, so I wore the jacket. We'll talk about the ST1 first. Marshall County Sanitation District Number 1. I put some notes together. There's about 50 pages of them. I'm not going to go through all 50 pages and put everybody to sleep, but just a little bit about the background of Sanitation District 1. Formed around 1980, primarily to serve Aurora and Ken Lake State Park. Ken Lake State Park had just built a plant. It was a 60,000 gallon per day package plant. That was in 1978, 79, and about 80, 81, we built a 150,000 gallon per day package plant. Aurora was thought to be booming at the time, and we needed extra capacity in the plant. As it turns out today, we've got about 35 customers, plus the Ken Lake State Park. Total treated wastewater in 2015 was about 10 million gallons. That's basically an average daily treated flow of 28,000 gallons. So we've got a 150,000 gallon per day plant, 28,000 gallon per day capacity. So we're well overrated, I guess is what you would say, for the plant until it rains. And then we get all the inflow and infiltration. So really, collection system got 2 treatment plants, 5 lift stations, 65 manholes, about 16,000 feet of gravity lines, and about 6,000 feet of force mains. So there's a component to our evaluation of lift stations and a component to our evaluation of treatment plants. So what we did is, and there's some pictures in here, but you can see from the pictures that the treatment plants they're 30 years old, and they need some love, definitely. The lift stations, to start with the lift stations, 5 of them. Basically, they're just they need some work. I mean, I don't want to say they're beyond their life, but when we evaluated them, you've got issues, control panels hanging off of plywood. You've got hatches that the metal is basically corroded off, and they've got wooden, almost like a wooden pallet over the top of them. There's tripping hazards that have been there from day one. So I know there was a project that was that was completed and bid back in January. We feel like those budget numbers are reasonable for rehabilitation. We also feel like you could just go in and replace the whole station. I think our budget number for the rehabilitation was around 450,000.
For the lift stations,
Right.
all
And
five?
then for the rehabilitation, and then the replacement, I think our budget in here recommendation was around 600,000 for just replacing all five of them. On the treatment plant, we looked at several different scenarios. Basically, the driver for the treatment plant project is notices of violation from the Kentucky Division of Water. And they're all referenced around inflow and infiltration. They're all referenced around wet weather. Plant operates fine. It's got corrosion, it's got some valve issues, but it operates fine in normal day usage. But when it rains, we get about a 10x factor of water. Average daily flow, again, 28 to 30,000 gallons per day. In 2015, we had a 306,000 gallon per day. It's about a 3-inch rain, so if it rains an inch and a half to 3 inches, we're going to be out of compliance. And we were out of compliance on flow 10 days in 2015. What that does is it puts us out of compliance for our percent removal, because as we get more water to come in, it dilutes us down, and we have a criteria in our permit for 85% removal. So if we dilute the water down, we have to remove that much more, and we just can't meet that. So there's a component to this project that I don't know was thought about earlier, but the I&I removal, inflow and infiltration removal is necessary for the plant to meet, to come back into compliance.
The I&I, Brian, is that an option to correct that? Would that involve existing lines?
Existing lines, potential locations for I&I, potential cracks in lines, cracks around creeks, manholes that leak, storm sewers that are connected, gutter drains, building drains, floor drains, things that shouldn't be connected to a sanitary sewer, but are routinely. Not so much today, but in the past. So we go through, we do what's called a sanitary sewer evaluation study, SSES, and smoke testing, flow metering, that type of thing. So,
Brian, you said 35 commercial and residential customers. Have they ever had any more than 35 customers?
I'm not sure.
One of them being the state park.
One of them, yes, definitely is a state park.
Right, which is the largest customer.
Right.
Okay,
I don't know the answer to your
Okay.
question, whether there were more at one time, but I'm sure when the plant was built, the physical part of the plant was planned for much larger
Right.
customer base. And I'm sure that the capital fiscal part was planned for much more revenue as well. So,
What you all found in your study is it's been around a while. It just didn't happen yesterday. It's been going on. You said that's the way it was designed or years ago, or, we talk about meters and so forth hanging from plywood and
right. It appears that the district's been operated on, say, a shoestring budget. I don't know the financial part of it, but it just appears that some of this probably should have been replaced 10 years ago. And I'm sure some of the pumps probably have, some of that type of thing, but the control panels are well out of date. Operational, they work, but
Right, it's
there's
my
some
understanding
issues.
that the operators and the men that have been operating that plant have done, with a shoestring budget, have done
Right.
a phenomenal job, especially with the condition that it's in.
Right.
and we understand that. The, if the first item to be dealt with, the waste treatment plant or the lift stations, which, or both at the same time, I mean,
Well, we would prefer to do both at the same time. I would say the lift stations, they both have issues. They both
Right.
really have safety issues associated with them. I would say equally important are I&I removal, the lift stations, and the treatment plant.
is the I&I removal built into that cost? When we say lift stations, would that involve the,
No.
okay. So that would be an additional, okay.
Right. And I think on our budgets, we looked at a couple different options for the treatment plant. One option, we looked at rehabilitating the 60,000 gallon per day plant,
Right?
going in, blasting it down, coating it, replacing lines, valves, and all that. And then we were going to actually rehabilitate the 150,000 gallon per day plant as well and use it as equalization. Because when you get into a treatment plant, you really want your treatment plant to flow smoothly. You want almost a constant flow through it. So, it's a biological plant, so it can get upset with large flows one way or the other.
And I'm learning this. I know the commissioners are learning this at a very fast pace. Is that the EQ basin? Is that what the 150,000 gallon tank
That's correct.
is? What would be kind of like the holding tank to take in all that rainwater, and then you would use from that to the 60,000 gallon tank to treat. Am
What
I
I
right?
would propose would be to have two influent pump stations. Wastewater comes into the plant. One operates all the time at more or less a constant flow through the plant at a design operating flow, say 50 gallons per minute, and it goes to the 60,000 gallon per day plant. In a rain event, we'd have an overflow structure, another set of pumps in it that would pump to the equalization. We would fill that up to a certain level, and then that would come back into the original pump station and pump through as the rain stopped. That being said, we had a 306,000 gallon day in 2015. We've got 60,000 gallons we're treating. We've got 120,000 gallons of equalization. So we've got basically 180,000 gallons of capacity. That doesn't get us to 300, so we do need to reduce the inflow. Or we're still, what I'm saying is we're not going to ultimately fix the problem. We're going to make it better.
Right.
But we're not going to ultimately fix the problem if we don't address the inflow.
Replacing or refurbishing the lift stations, will that take care of at least part of that inflow?
It would help. I'm sure.
And then you think it's cracked lines, or you haven't been able to determine that? Is that something you'd possibly slip line
Possibly
the other
use
piping, or?
Use a cured in place pipeliner. There's some grouting that you can do from inside of a structure, inside of a manhole. A lot of times we find the source of inflow and infiltration is the interface between the main gravity line and the lateral that comes in, depending on who put it in, how they put it in. Some people knock a hole in it with a hammer and stick a pipe in it and we're done. That's not done today, but it has been done in the past.
Right.
So it's all kinds of different things that can cause that type.
Got to get a camera or something in there to see.
Right. Some smoke testing, some camera work, some flow monitoring potentially.
So the rehabilitation of the plant and the lift stations, does that include what you just said as far as the coating and, or is that getting a whole new system?
I've actually got some flow schematics and some documentation in here.
Okay.
But, so the lift stations we said was either 450,000 or 600,000. The treatment plant options, the first one was rehabilitating the 60 and then converting the existing 150,000 gallon per day plant into equalization.
Okay.
The second option would be to actually purchase two 30,000 gallon per day package plants new and set them on site, and we would just abandon the 60 and still rehabilitate the 150, so it would have the equalization.
Okay,
So the difference in those options, cost-wise, one of them's about $1 million and the other one's about 1.2 at the treatment plant,
okay.
plus
And
your lift stations.
and again, I'm learning this very fast. The operator's license, the class level, determines, from my understanding, the volume, I guess, or like a class 1, I think, is 50,000. Class 2 is, each one has a level that they can operate. In doing so, what class operator would that plant or facility need? Or do
I
you know?
believe it's a Class 2.
Class 2?
I believe it's Class 2.
Okay.
The operator's ability to operate your treatment plant is based upon the rated flow capacity of your plant.
Yes.
Right.
That's what I was trying to say.
I believe it's a Class.
One being the highest,
No,
Lowest?
Lowest.
I think 4, is it 4 or?
Or maybe the highest.
The highest?
Yes. I mean, you're getting into Louisville and Lexington.
But the changes that we've discussed today is not going to change the class rating?
Should not, no.
Okay. So I think we're at a Class 2 operator.
You'd have to have a bigger plant for it to change the rating, right? Over 150,000.
Well, we wouldn't re-rate the plant over. It's rated at 160,000 right now. We have a permit for 160,000.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
I don't think we would re-rate it. If it were re-rated, we would probably rate it down.
Right.
Right.
There's no need to go up.
Right.
Okay.
You said that it's currently considered non-compliant.
Well, I don't know that I would say, there are notices of violation. I've seen written notices of violation.
Is that because of the things that you're talking about that need to be fixed?
I believe so. There was some language in the notice of violation about some equipment that wasn't, quote, well maintained.
Right.
But, some valves, things like that, some piping that needed some work. But what I read out of the notice of violation is everything in there is ultimately related to the high flow rate.
Right.
Normal day, the plant is operating properly. Disinfection works fine. It's, as far as everything that I know, I've seen, I've read, everyday use the plant operates. There's some safety issues. There's some ladders. There's some steps. Some things some pieces and parts to the plant that are inaccessible for the operator. So it's very difficult for them to maintain some of these valves. So there's definitely some things that we could do differently to make it more operator friendly.
Okay.
That on-site generator that's out of service, wouldn't that be one of the first priorities since that's Division of Waters?
Yes, sir. I think we had recommended that be put into the budget, and we would actually recommend a trailer-mounted generator so that it could be moved from the plant to the lift stations, should a lift station need it. It's pretty common. I think most of them now are, unless you get into the really, really large plants. I mean, what we're talking about is probably a, 60 to 75 kW generator. Could easily be put on a trailer.
And I think with the lift stations as they are today, a life expectancy of a pump is about 7 years on roughly.
I would say so. A new pump. I mean, I would expect a pump to last maybe 7 to 10 year range.
Okay.
I think, for future planning, I think that's pretty reasonable.
Okay. All right. Any questions regarding District 1? All right. This is some great information This map is really, really good. The GIS help you with this, that RGIS help you with this?
It did.
And the pad, I
We
believe.
worked with the pad, worked with Marshall County GIS. We actually did I won't say a field survey, but our folks worked with the operators of the district. And went around to several of the manholes, all the lift stations, did evaluations of the lift stations.
This is a good map, good product.
The color designations there are areas that are tributary to each lift station. That's what the criteria there, between the colors. So you can see where the state park is on the right, it's colored, it comes in the other 5 lift stations.
The legend here, Area 1 would be Lift Station 1. Am I reading that right?
Yeah.
With the color coded?
Yes.
Okay.
The other thing I would say about the SD1, I guess, is Ken Lake State Park. We're talking about I&I, and I can't stand here and tell you how much of the I&I is attributed to the district versus the park. If there is a flow meter on the park's pump station, I don't know about it. So that's something that we would also recommend is looking into placing a flow meter on the park's force main. They have one force main, one pump station that pumps into our influent pump station at the plant. So it should be relatively easy, I would say, to install a flow meter to get an idea as to how much flow that they're sending to us.
Okay.
If we want to, I mean, if we're talking about cost sharing, that
Right.
we kind of need to know how much flow we're getting from them and what their I&I component is.
Yeah, because I think the contract that was done up, as far as the usage rate, the rate went up, but as far as identifying how much water comes in or how much the flow comes in, I don't think that was discussed, top of my knowledge. I know the rate went up, but not the identifying how much comes into the plant. That might be something we look at.
They may have looked at water usage. I thought they looked at water usage and tried to determine if there was approximately what was being used.
They may have.
We looked at, we did get with the Johnson Creek Water District as well and looked at some water usage. And it looked like over the 3-year period of time, I guess 13, 14, 15, Ken Lake State Park, they used about 22 million gallons, so about 7 million gallons a year was what their billed usage was, which seems a little high for just normal. I don't know if some of their usage is actually going to water the flowers. I don't know.
There was
Right.
a time when they probably were using it, I'm not sure, probably some of that might have went to the golf course and they closed it.
Right. Okay. But those were the numbers. It was right at 7 million gallons for 2015. So we said our treated flow was 10 million, and theirs billed usage was 7 million. I mean, there's a
Well, that's
70,
kinda what I thought
30
that- yeah.
split
I thought
there.
that's kind of what the numbers came back. It was either 70-30 or 80-20 or something in that neighborhood.
I think it said they were 70%.
Okay.
Yeah. They are the largest customer on the district.
Oh, definitely. You guys want to talk about Oak Level
Level.
for just a few minutes? As you know, there's a tank and some line work that was constructed. 8-inch main along Oak Level Road up to the tank site. I think Wadesboro Road, Oak Level Road, Wadesboro Road. We built a 150,000 gallon tank. That was part of the Water Vision 2020 project. Subsequent to that, there was a pump station that was constructed. I'm going to say it's constructed to about 85% on some city of Benton property adjacent to the Marshall County Hospital. There's still some work that needs to be performed on the pump station. There's electrical that needs to be integrated. There's the base needs to be set into the concrete. There's connections that need to be made from from the Benton's existing water system. When we started this process and the judge and I started talking, our scope of work was really just to evaluate where we are with this pump station and how much is it going to take to get the project underway, get the project finished, actually. It's grown considerably. Heard some comments from the city that said they've got some pressure issues along 348 Smithsonian Highway. We actually developed a model, a water distribution system model. It's not a calibrated final product model by any means. That's a pretty large task, but we got enough information put into the model that we could pretty well verify what they were telling us as far as the high pressures. The model pretty well reflects the field measurements out to a certain point. But we have a discrepancy between our model results and the field data, which leads us to believe that there may be some issues along Simpsonia Road, maybe closed valves, maybe air release valves that are creating some air pockets, maybe an old meter. There's some potential items there that need to be addressed further before we can really say conclusively what the issues are and really make a firm recommendation on how to move forward. Adding a booster pump station there is questionable, in my opinion, because we already have 115 to 120 pounds of pressure at the hospital. The pump station that was purchased, it adds about another 110 pounds of pressure at 350 gallons per minute. So at that point, we were looking at pressures around 200 pounds per square inch, and it's just it's really unreasonable in any kind of a municipal system. City of Benton, we asked them about main breaks, and they said between 2012 and 15, I think between Lynn Nelson Road and the hospital along 348, they've had around 20 to 24 main breaks, main breaks that they've had to address already. So adding pressure to that system doesn't sound like a good idea. So what we're looking at, the model is actually showing potential that we wouldn't have to even have a pump station. But I don't want to get anybody's hopes up because, again, the model's not calibrated, and we really just need to get in and dig a little bit further into that whole situation before we can make a good decision on that.
That was the original conclusion at one point, and then, I guess, working with Benton, they said they did not have enough pressure to charge that tower, so I don't know.
And the pressure readings that they told us, they were getting about 38 to 40 pounds of pressure at the intersection there at Breezdale School Road and Arent Road, where the tank is set. And that's, we see that at times in the model, we see the 38, but we also, when Benton's second pump kicks on, we see a little bit higher pressure in the model, but we're not able to enjoy that in the field. So we feel like we've got some kind of obstruction maybe in the distribution system in that first mile or so along 348 that may be causing some problems. And we're trying to work with the city, and I know their guys are actively looking into getting some drawings out to look and see where the valves are and if there's any potential obstructions, and we'll just go look at them and try to dig them up and see. These valves, gate valves, you can open them and close them, and there's a 6-inch gate valve generally has a set number of revolutions closed or open. So as long as it's operational, you should be able to tell if it's partially closed or not just by routine operation of the valve. So
As far as the pump station project, we're aware of the electrical. I think we even planned for that next fiscal year to get that done. As far as closing out that project, as far as the pump station, I understand that there's potential that they may not even use the pump station. But the electrical piece, getting the pump set in place, and I know the county attorney's talked with the city attorney as far as getting documentation so that it shows what the county's responsibility is and what the city that runs the water district, what they're going to do. And I think for the fiscal court, that was one of our main reasons of sending you out there, is to tell us what exactly is going on. And it's great information that we're getting from you today. But it's kind of disheartening to find out that the pump house may not even be used in the future. But it is what it is. For us, we can't close a loan out until we identify what the project is that we've got to complete. I think that's what our intent is. And your information is definitely helpful for us to get that completed. And
I had hoped to have a more conclusive answer on the
Sure.
pump station by now, but we're
Yeah.
kind of almost in the middle of the battle here.
Well, and I think too, it sounds like you helped Benton to some degree identify some areas that they can look into. So I mean, that is a positive note. And I've talked to the mayor, and I mean, we're all in agreement to getting the documentation that's needed to outline what we need to do. And we didn't get into a loan. We just went ahead and paid for it because it was already ordered, all the parts and labor and everything. So as far as completing the project, I'm confident that that pump house will be completed in July.
You referred to that project as part of the Water Vision 2020 project.
That was my understanding, that the original project was part of Water Vision 2020, yes.
Okay,
The tank and the line work along that.
okay. Because actually, that's a grant and loan after.
Yeah,
Yeah, the money wasn't tied to the 2020.
Oh, okay,
Right.
okay.
yeah, the project may have, the way I've read the documents and understand it, is that the intent may have been for 2020, Water Vision 2020 plan. I'm still unclear as far as what the overall plan is, but the monies that came in to support that project were not 2020 monies. It was an actual Fund B through KIA, which was a grant with a matching loan that the fiscal court is funding.
Okay. I wasn't involved.
And you're not alone. There's several people that think that was Water Vision 2020 monies. It's not.
Well, that was my understanding. That's what I thought I was told, that we were going to use what
probably
little was
were.
left in Water Vision 2020 for that project.
Any other questions?
Will the 39 PSI, will that increase with the replacing the lines, or is that with the existing lines running to the tower?
That 39 PSI is reflective of the existing system that's here now. If we find an obstruction, that should help that significantly. Or if we were to replace that, I think it was about 7,000 or 8,000 feet of line from the pump station site to Lynn Nelson and down Lynn Nelson Road back over to 408 and complete that loop. Because I know part of the original project tied in a piece along Ivy Road, and it started at 408 and Lynn Nelson. So if we could complete that loop around, and that may be a potential solution as well. If we can't, find a silver bullet, a valve that's partially closed or something like that.
Any other questions? Brian, I want to commend you and your company for the professionalism that we've received from your company in doing this, getting this information that we desperately needed, so that we can make better decisions in the future as far as getting this in compliance and moving this forward. But I speak highly of the material that you've produced, and we're grateful for that. Thank you.
Appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you, Brian.
Brian?
We've got a public hearing that was scheduled at 10 for Hollinger Road. I guess we can recess
We need to recess here.
and then go into the public hearing. Yeah.
Move that we recess.
Second. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, motion carries. We'll go into public hearing on Hollinger Road. Is there, yes, sir.
Western Rivers Boat Management.
Good morning, sir.
Hey, good morning. And I'm not sure what everybody knows about Hollinger Road. I've been dealing with Josh Tubbs a little bit, but, we're trying to move our marine business into Marshall County. And we've got our dry dock and repair yard there now. And we are launching a new dry dock, which will bring in about 20 more employees and a lot more equipment. And we're just trying to get our road access back so we can maintain it, get it back from the county, and so put security gates up and things like that.
In Hollinger Road, so people, I know everybody here knows where it's at, but it's actually,
It's right off of Sharkow Road, right next to Waste Path. It goes right into our dry dock and repair facility.
and I believe from reading the documents, like you said, to do that, you need to secure that road access.
I do, yes.
With a
Yeah,
county
the
road, you can't.
100-year flood that is supposed to happen, we've had about 3 times since we've owned the place in 10 years. So we don't have any access to our own dry dock parts of the year. And we'd like to raise that road up about 3 or 4 more foot so we can have access 100% of the time down there.
Okay,
So that's what we're requesting, is just to gain access back to our road and take the maintenance back up from it, from the county. So when we purchased the place, the county had it, and we're just, now that we own it, we're trying to get it back. And that's our request. So.
okay. Do y'all have any questions?
Yep.
That's it. And I think I'm supposed to
Call for
call for
comments
3,
for-
yeah. Any comments for Hollinger Road? Any comments for Hollinger Road? Any comments for Hollinger Road? All right. Any comments against Hollinger Road? Any comments against Hollinger Road? Any comments against Hollinger Road? Okay. I know our road review, Casey, I see you're here today. Do you have anything on this that you want to bring?
The county holds deed for the right-of-way that may need to be deeded back to the owners, so, based upon whatever the court decides. If Hollinger Road is completely closed, you could do away with the road, and then it would have to be readdressed off of Sharkow Road, or it can, Hollinger can become a private road with the right-of-way going back to the owner.
Okay. Did you need to read anything as far as advertisement? I know we sent a letter out to adjacent landowner.
Is that David Reed's property, is that join the road, or is this road strictly on your property?
I've got about 30 yards in between my road and Mr. Reed's property.
Okay,
I
so
was-
no
I
one
didn't
else
think he touched-
accesses,
Yeah, I didn't think he did.
Okay.
It has its own access about half a mile down.
when looking at the maps, I couldn't tell for sure.
Yes, and everything behind that it would access is about 600 acres that I own.
Yeah, we do need to put on the record when it was published.
Do we have that date?
I didn't think David's property touched that road. I didn't believe it did, but I wasn't sure.
Okay. For the record, advertisement for public hearing was placed in the May 10th, 2016 issue of the Tribune Carrier. And that was, the notice for the hearing was also posted at the following location: County Courthouse, the intersections of Hollinger Road, Shalkow Road, McFarland Road, Sharkow Road, and the entrance to entrance to 1689 Sharkow Road as required in KRS 178070. County Road Engineer Russell York and appointed road viewers Andy Lepisto and Casey Counts all viewed the road. The following observations were made.
That, I would suggest that be part of that document be part of the record. I assume their conclusion was that it would,
You want me to just read it?
yeah. probably.
Hollinger Road, this is their observation, the road reviewers. Hollinger Road intersects Sharkow Road approximately 1,252 feet east of McFarland Road, Sharkow Road intersection. The roadway is located within the incorporated limits of the city of Calvert City. Hollinger Road is approximately 2540 feet in length and 20 feet in width, with a bituminous surface in excellent condition, established in 2012 in cooperation with the State Transportation Cabinet. The county surfaced Hollinger Road. The right-of-way for Hollinger Road is 60 feet wide. Marshall County Fiscal Court Judge Executive Mike Miller signed a quitclaim deed on August 13, 2002, accepting the 3.53 acres as surveyed by POS Art Travis for the right-of-way. Quitclaim deed transferring the right-of-way to the county is filed in Deed Book 335, page 466. Currently, Hollinger Road provides access to one business, First Marine, located at 354 Hollinger Road. This business is owned by the property owner, petitioner Rosedale Holding Company, LLC. The roadway has numerous objects and equipment on the paved surface. The road is solely used as an interest for First Marine and its employees. The adjacent property does not have access to the road and therefore will not serve as a benefit or disadvantage if the roadway is removed from the county maintenance. Based on the information presented in the above, our conclusion is that a public need is no longer served by continued county maintenance for Hollinger Road. If Hollinger Road becomes a private road, the address for the business would remain unchanged. However, if Hollinger Road is closed and completely removed as a roadway, a new address would have to be established. All right, so we'll close the meeting. We'll make a motion to close the public hearing on Hollinger
Motion to
Road.
close the hearing,
So
Judge.
moved, second.
All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carried.
That will be on that'll need to be on the agenda for the next regular scheduled meeting to vote.
We'll call regular Marshall County Fiscal Court back to order. We'll continue with the agenda. Yes, sir. Thank you. Next on their guest is Kurt Kurtner, Emergency Management.
Good morning.
Morning, sir.
Roughly, just want to brief everybody. Everybody's aware of the storms that we had last week, tornado that came through Graves and the Harvey Brewer area. Basically, just going to let everybody know that we've had damage assessment teams come in from Frankfurt, and between Graves County and Marshall County, we're looking at approximately 60 structures that received some kind of damage, some minimal, some completely destroyed. The numbers are approximately $2.8 million worth of damage. $130,000 of it was Marshall County properties. Now we'll take these numbers and we'll submit these to the governor's office and some of the other storm damage that we can associate from Kentucky. The governor will get that, and if we meet and exceed the threshold that they set, we can submit it to the president, hopefully get a presidential declaration for disaster, which will open up some funding from FEMA that should help offset some of the residences that had the damage. Most of them that I talked to had adequate insurance, so any FEMA assistance that can come to them will help offset their deductibles and stuff. I know one resident lost 2 cars, a pickup truck, and a boat. So we'll go with that. But basically, that's, we're very lucky. If anybody is, I'm sure, has seen some of the pictures and the stories from Mayfield, ours just happened to be in a more rural area, so I think we all stood here and just shook a stick at it when we heard it was coming toward Benton, and we physically watched it going across the sky. And we got lucky because it went over some major subdivision in Kentucky Lake, I believe Kentucky Lake subdivision out there on Barge Island Road in that area. So once it lifted off the ground, it pretty well stayed off the ground till it got out of Marshall County, and we were glad for that. And that's basically all I had. At some point, I need to get the judge to, and we've got what we call a hazard mitigation plan that we sign yearly. And we filed a Jackson Purchase office for this region, and all the counties partake in it. And it's just a yearly, every 4 years actually, that we need to sign this and keep it updated. And it's a hazard mitigation plan that they created through a lot of in-depth study, and all the counties partake in it, and hopefully we'll continue to partake in that. So, anybody got any questions?
Right, actually, we've got that further on the agenda, but we can go ahead and talk about it now, the hazard mitigation planning. I'll just read briefly what that does. Developing a hazard mitigation plan enables state and local governments to increase education and awareness around threats, hazards, and vulnerabilities, build partnerships for risk reduction involving government organizations, businesses, and the public. Also identify long-term, broadly supported strategies for risk reduction, align risk reduction with other state, tribal, or community objectives. So it is something that we've participated in.
Yes,
like you said, it's 4 years.
I believe we had originally drafted the Jackson Purchase area, the PAD office, I guess you call it, spent a lot of time and years creating this plan, and it was implemented, I believe, in 2006. And it's all the surrounding counties are players in that and members of it. And it's something that really works. And any issues that come up, they've got a committee that looks at it and makes recommendations for what we can do to help mitigate some of the issues that could arise. And it's a good thing. So, and like I said, it's beneficial to our citizens in the county. So
We can, why don't we just go ahead, Rick, I know you had to step out. Further down on the agenda is the mitigation, hazard mitigation planning, but we went ahead and discussed that.
I have that in my office. It's 86 pages long. If anybody wants to come and sit down and really get educated or whatever, they're welcome anytime to stop. We have that plan, in writing in the office. I'm hoping you don't want me to read it for you today.
I think you can also find that online.
Yes, it should be.
www.fema.gov hazard mitigation planning, so you can find that online too. Why don't we go ahead and entertain a motion to sign the hazard mitigation plan?
Make that motion, Judge.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. The follow-up on that last week's event, obviously the ones that were here, we did watch that go by. I was contacted and met with the commissioner, DLG, Commissioner Donahue. She had come down, and she had also advised that there are some possible funds available in case we don't meet the FEMA threshold. And so we're going to look into that as well. So she had reached out to us from the governor's office and advised us of those funds. So I know we spoke about that, and we're going to look into that as far as possibly getting some funds to help with the debris cleanup.
Cleanup and placement and all that, yes.
Yep. All right.
Also,
We were extremely lucky, yes. Yes.
I want to definitely put out a high recommendation of thanks and appreciation. Harvey Brewer Fire Department, that was their district, Sheriff's Office, Road Department, Rescue Squad. when that thing came down Time Lane Road, our local responders were there. They met it pretty much head on, and everybody went above and beyond, you know, mitigating the issues with trees in the road, checking on the citizens. It was a great turnout once again from our responders and county workers. So.
Right, now, we listened as it was called out, the actual location. The information as far as that was coming in, it was a lot of information, good
We
information.
had numerous offers of assistance from our neighboring counties, their local emergency management directors, and some of the deputy judges and everything were calling. If we need them, they were on the way, and like I said, everybody worked great together and helped mitigate any issues of, you know, check on the people and all that. So once again, Marshall County went above and beyond for their citizens, and we appreciate that.
Appreciate it, Kurt. Let's see, we'll move on to the next on the agenda. Under correspondence, we just put out the annual bids, and I got an email from the Chevy dealership, or I'm sorry, the Parkway Chrysler, Courtney Ashley, in regards to the bids. They are trying to present a competitive bid. The information that was submitted in regards to the emergency responders vehicles, the Dodge Chargers, it says with options, and I know that he had reached and communicated with you, Sheriff, and that information that he got was he needs to contact my office. The information that was submitted for the bids is information that came from your office. We don't have those options. So the Dodge Chargers, the 5.7 liter with a Hemi, and it looks like a Charger rear wheel 3.6 liter. All three of those have a with options on those. So if you can have by my office tomorrow what that means, what those options are, so that this business can put a competitive bid in, I'd appreciate it. I think for the time frame, next Monday is when those bids are going to be presented, so that business is trying to get their bid in. They need that information.
Chief Deputy Maddox had a bid package created for all three manufacturers, but when my office wasn't allowed to make the bids, we assumed that y'all were gonna do that.
Your information that was sent to us, you actually sent your patrol vehicle proposal to the fiscal court. It says on here with options. We don't have those options. So therefore,
We didn't understand that was what that was for bid purposes, because, again, we thought my office would be making the bids, and when we weren't, we'll want to put that out, we assumed that y'all would take over that responsibility, but he's got bid packages created for all three manufacturers.
you state in your actual vehicle proposal that this information goes through the fiscal court. So to say that you weren't in the bid process, you were. I'm just trying to tell you that the business contacted you with the options to try to get that, and they didn't get it. So I'm going to entertain a motion that by close of business tomorrow, I get that information in my office on the options on those vehicles, so I can get that information to the business so that they can put in a competitive bid.
There is no need to do a motion. It'll be at your office by the end of business today.
Is there a second motion or a second?
I'll second the motion. I think that they're bidders, we put a bid out there,
We
and
put a
local
bid
business
out.
wants to bid. We need to have that
Yes.
information available to them so they can competitively bid, especially a local entity.
I agree. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Oh,
I'm sorry?
said no.
No? Motion carries. 4:30 tomorrow. Please have that information on my desk, please.
It'll be by the end of business today.
We'll move on. Old business, approve the minutes for May 3rd.
Make a motion to approve, Judge.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Ordinance 201604, budget amendment, second reading. Brenda has accompanied us today. Emily's off today helping with the election.
Ordinance 2016-04, an ordinance relating to the annual budget and amendment thereof. Whereas the County of Marshall has received additional funds, now be it ordained by the Fiscal Court of Marshall County that Section 1, the annual budget for fiscal year 2015-2016 is amended to total increased revenue, $690,135.54. Total increased expenditures, $690,135.54. Section 2, the amounts added to the revenue and expenditure accounts in Section 1 are for governmental purposes.
Entertain a motion to approve second reading of the budget
This is
amendment.
amendment to the 2015-16 budget we've read, yeah. So moved, Judge.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next on their old business is sanitation district number 2. I want to give a brief update. We had a board meeting yesterday. Myself, the county attorney, and the deputy judge, we have been attending the board meetings, doing everything we can as the county government to help them hand in hand. And the information that we received yesterday in the meeting was not good. The county attorney and I are going to have to go back to Frankfurt to Department of Water Thursday. We have a meeting with them. It is a very complex situation to understand. It's different than sanitation number 1. This plant was an SBR plant, which from my understanding, the state kind of forced on the district, if you will. But it requires high maintenance, and there's some structural issues. But at the end of the day, this district is in bad shape when it comes to sanitation issues. I just want to update the court. I know that the commissioners, y'all have been informed. We're trying to keep the court informed every step of the way. I know the media's been at the board meetings as well, and they've done a great job of keeping the people informed. But we've got some challenges ahead of us. And I know we've discussed that with next year's budget. I've made it a priority to help these districts out. But I just wanted to inform you that the plant right now is currently not operating. We are taking measures to get that in place, but it is going to be a challenge. And it's taken every entity involved to make that work. We had an operator and an engineer come in and look at the plant to get a second opinion, and it wasn't good. So I'll try to get more information for you when we come back next fiscal court meeting. But I just wanted to inform you of what's going on and keep you abreast of what's going on. Do y'all have any questions on it?
Got any good news?
There's money in the bank account.
There's money in the bank account. Brad has actually been helping with the books, taking over the QuickBooks, and that is a good question. We are actually making progress in that area. So, and, you know, I can't stress enough the board stepping in, these individuals volunteering their time with the condition that they are being dealt with. You can just imagine, but they understand the importance of their position in getting this district up and running. So that is good news that we've got individuals in the community that are stepping forward, doing their part the best they can. And it has been, as far as QuickBooks, Brad's done a phenomenal job getting his head wrapped around that and getting us to where we can at least identify customers and who's not a customer. So,
And I would say the customers in the district are they've been really receptive to all the changes. Just being informed and knowing what's going on with the district, having somebody answering their billing questions, and having vendors getting their questions answered as far as when they're going to get paid. So point of contact has been very positive. So.
All right, we'll move on to new business. Under new business, appeal nuisance violation, Sheriff.
Mr. Kirks did send a written appeal in, so normally I bring that to y'all and it's turned over to the refuge board at that point. 'Cause
Okay.
we wanted a hearing.
All right, we contacted the refuse board, and they are preparing a hearing for the appeal process per the ordinance, so that's in place. They'll report back to us their findings.
Are they going to contact him, or do I need to contact him?
I talked to Troy this morning, and I gave him the property owner's information, and he was going to contact him and work with him.
I know in that process, that's in my district, and I went out there and checked the property after I met the property owner in the judge's office, waiting to see the judge, and I went out there the next day, and the property owner I didn't really notice a whole lot, and I don't know what he had done since he got that letter, but he just got the letter like 3 days previous, but his father was out here. They'd taken down a outbuilding, and the blocks were neatly stacked, and he was working on a car outside the garage, painting the bed of a trailer, and he said, as soon as I get through painting, we'll move inside that garage. But, you know, has anybody been out there to check on the property since the complaint was first made? Okay, well, I don't know if it needs to go to the appeals process, but if somebody will take a trip out there, I think they'll find that property is, there's 50 other properties, you go a mile down the road either side of it, that are much more worse than that. That guy's making an effort to do that, and I'm not the one that makes that call, but I can certainly vouch for the property owner. Since he's got that letter, he's doing the right thing. He came to see the judge and wants to be in compliance and has worked in compliance, and I don't see any difference in his property and any other property out there. He has made the effort, and the appeals process, somewhere in this procedure, we need somebody comes out there and looks, and, whoever determines that it's a nuisance needs to return to the scene and see that the property owner has done his due diligence and to correct the problem, and I don't think there is, in my opinion, there's no problem out there now. Now, whether there was at the time.
After talking to the refuse, they said that they would,
That's what they do?
they'll go out there and assess the property again.
Okay, good.
And then
good.
report back to the board, and then report back to the sheriff's office.
Okay, yeah, okay.
Yeah,
I didn't know.
and I think there's some, we had discussed it, I think there's some areas that we can change to implement that, because I know also too, there's, as far as individuals who do submit a complaint on the green sheet, that they typically don't hear back. So there's some other areas too that we can improve on, as far as letting the citizens know that, hey, this is a legitimate complaint, we're going through the process, or here's the finding at my level, being the first level, at the sheriff's department, where they respond back to say it's not in violation. So yeah, there's some areas that I think we can improve on that.
I agree, there needs to be some improvement there, because it does tax my office, because I do not ask the guys to do it. I'm the one that takes care of that, and I try to get to it as I can. I do understand that it is very important to the folks that report it, but unfortunately, it's not an extreme high priority with the other duties that I do. I would like to see something else possibly come about to help that. I know that the county attorney had looked at the possibility of the elected constables maybe taking that aspect over, because they would have the time to be able to do that and devote the time that it needs. Because I'll be honest with you, I don't devote the time that it needs to it, because I've got other things that I've got to do that, in my opinion, are a higher priority.
but I do think it is important, and, I don't know if looking at possible, zoning, limited zoning or something like that would help alleviate that problem as well, but I think it does need to be addressed, and that the system needs to be better than what it is.
How many times has complaints have you had to address in, say, since January of 2015, serve notice just like you did on this gentleman?
I would have to look in my file.
Ballpark?
Somewhere in the neighborhood, probably 20 to 30, somewhere in there. I mean, over the time span in 2007, when this started, we're probably talking over 100 complaints that I've had to deal with in some fashion.
I know there's more than 100 either dilapidated properties where a health issue or safety issue. There's well more than that each of us know in Marshall County.
And the way the process works now is, I don't go out seeking that.
Right.
Someone will come to me, and
Right.
I've got an informational sheet that I ask them to fill out. And whenever I do send the notices out, I'm the complainant. And that's done for a purpose, if you know what I mean.
Would there be a record? There would be a record of that. Since 2007, it's been set up that way?
Yeah.
Okay. I like that information since 2007, and, well, that'd tell me
Yeah, and
the
more
last year.
importantly,
Anytime it
because I know
happened.
I've had people call in my office saying that they fill out the proper documentation, but they don't hear anything back. And I think that's something that we can improve on as well. I understand you get a lot of complaints, and it's the complaint that actually initiates the process. But as far as the ones that don't have any warrant or standing, that we should contact those individuals and explain to them why. There's a lot of people that haven't heard anything, and then they don't know if it's a legitimate complaint or it's not. Let's move.
I do run a lot of them through our county attorney, because some of them that I come in and I see that I don't see what their issue is, and that's why I asked for his advice, because he helped draft that ordinance, because, some of them I see, and he can tell you, some of them are just.
Right. Yeah, and even the ones that don't have any standing, I think that, we still reply to those individuals and tell them why.
Yeah.
Because one in particular, I saw photos, and, I'm not in the process initially, but I didn't see any reason for it, but.
The complaints you turned over concerning, we meant to say Mr. Kirk. Is what was, when you inspected that, or if you went out to the property, what did you find in the press?
Actually, I didn't go out to the property. Again, asking the advice of the county attorney, I had photos sent to me of the complaint, and he said that, if I get photos sent to me, that is sufficient.
That's where the problem lies in this situation. I would assume that, like I say, it could have been, this was either the second or third day after he received that letter, he was in the office, in the judge's office, and wanting to do the right thing. And I went out there the next day, and I saw absolutely nothing, and I just didn't know, what was going on, or tried to find out, and tried to stop he was scared to death that he was going to come in, the county was going to come in, send somebody in, and they put a lien on his property.
Right.
And wasn't a thing wrong with his property that time. Now, he may have done a miraculous cleanup in a day and a half or a day.
Right.
Do that. I don't know that, so that's why I asked the question. We're sending a guy a letter and a complaint, and you
Well,
got pictures from 10 years ago or something. That system is not a good system.
Right, as a property owner, we would like to have contact with those
I know
that
that.
visit the place, so you can talk to them. And half the time, I think, talking with refuse, but a large percentage of landowners, they'll clean it up if you talk to them.
What they've
Right.
been doing most of the time.
Yeah,
Right.
And that's
And
what
that's
they're
what you
hearing
should
at the
do.
refuge board. If it's cleaned up, they'll take care of it.
yeah, I think it's 35 days, but yeah, I think we all agree we can improve that process. Let's move on. Redesign and paving of Ridge Road. Rick?
We're going to put that on hold.
Okay.
But as far as the paving, but just to basically, or the paving aspect of it, but it is time to, that's on the paving schedule for this year. But
Yeah.
we had talked, Russell and I, we thought it was going to be on the paving schedule last year, and there's some road work, design work that we feel that's necessary. It's a safety issue as you approach. If you're traveling Ridge Road towards Draftonville area, going towards that direction, as you come in a little dip, then you come up on a hill, and then there's a stop sign, where I've got an arrow, not one for everybody, but as you come over that hill, the first safety hazard is if you're not familiar and it's dark, you're going to top that hill going 55 miles an hour and just run into the woods across, and it T-bones Brownsburg, Draftonville. And, but once you get on top of the hill, if you're a farmer and have heard complaints from a lot of farmers out there in the area and people that have trucking companies in and out there all the time, that when they top the hill down Ridge Road and look in Draftonville, Brownsburg, Tatumsville Road, and they're sitting down so low that they top that hill and they're just accident. It's a safety issue, and we can correct that. And Russell has taken me out there, like say, a year and a half ago, and if we take that hill down, and according to the estimates, you're talking about 3 days, less than a week before you pave and push that dirt and down in that hole and raise that up so they can see those cars and vehicles coming over the hill and take the grassy area out in between that. It'll make it a safer intersection and so forth. Now, obviously, before you put down $60,000 worth of asphalt, you want to do that work instead of after. So that's, I don't know if we have to have court approval to do that, but certainly if we're we need to, it's been brought to our attention, and Desiree's daddy work.
Talked about some time ago, quite a while back.
That's my understanding too, it's been talked about.
But they wanted to hold off and do it later on. It wasn't ever brought back up.
Going to be an issue with the compaction? We're going to pave right over the top of it?
It needs to settle a while, I'd say, a little while.
That'd be my only concern.
I agree with Commissioner that not lately, but we have had several accidents at that intersection right there, because that is a blind spot, really, really bad right there. Really bad.
And people won't even come. Desiree's daddy lives on that road, and everybody I've heard that numerous complaints, not only from businesses, people that have big trucking business and all farmers in the area and so forth. Grain trucks going that way, they just, close their eyes and go, because they're blind as a bat, people topping that hill, and so it's certainly a safety issue, and before we put $60,000 worth of asphalt in that area, we need to do it right, do it now instead of think about it next year.
That brings up a good point. We'll tie that into setting a date for a budget workshop. There's some final things that we need to talk about, and that could be definitely one of them.
Well, that project is, I think that's just, I don't think that's a budget item necessarily, but I mean, it's just, we got the ability to do so, and just wanted to pass it in front of everybody else. That's no necessarily added cost. Those guys are good at the road department, good at what they do, and they can perform those tasks, and that's just, they've got a list of priorities, and just need to have our blessings to do that, I understand.
Because Ridge Road is on the.
It's a county road, and it's all in our right of way and so forth, but just wanted to,
Inform everybody.
can't do, or the road department can't do 100 of those projects a year, but got to have their priorities. But that's, like I say, that is they've been talking about it a long time, I know, well before I got here and after I got here, but I hear it every day, and certainly it is a safety concern.
Okay. We'll take that as well, and before I forget, setting a date for the budget, because I didn't put that on the agenda. So I know some of you are going to be out of town. June 7th is when we plan to read the second reading. Is there a date that all of us will be here? Well, no, that's when we're going to read the second
That's a regular
reading.
scheduled meeting.
Yeah, that's our next scheduled meeting. In between, we've got one on the 30th.
We have one next
No,
Tuesday also.
not Thursday. Getting ahead of myself. Wait a minute, I'm in the wrong.
We don't have one the 30th, do we?
Never mind, that was in June. June 7th is when we're going to do the second reading, so anytime this week, next week.
You know, like Johnny said, you've already got your bid opening next week.
24th.
24th. You just want to do it the 24th?
I've got a meeting I can't change that
Okay.
afternoon at 3.
All right.
We should be done by 3, shouldn't we? Just bid opening.
What about the 31st?
31st.
That'll work for me.
I'm good.
You good? Okay.
9:30.
9:30? 9:30, the 31st, May 31st for budget workshop.
That'll give the treasurer time if there's any changes to make those changes and have the document ready to read the 7th.
Yes.
Okay. Not going to be a 10.5-hour budget workshop, is
I
it?
hope not. Let's see, let's move on with new business, Warren Lane and Faust Lane.
Casey's not still here, that is also in the 3rd District, and several years ago, I think back in 2002, David Reed bought the property most of the property that Faust Road serves, and left, and he's got a cable across there. It's out of the county road system, and he did that back in 2002, and so there, Faust Road there remains just about 200 feet coming off 641 that is known as Faust Road, which is no property, no homes on either side in that 200-foot area. But the problem lies in the fact that a road called Warren Lane, after that 200 feet takes a left, and there's 2 homes on Warren Lane, and it's in the paving, my paving for this year, and it was recommended, Casey went through the records and the minutes of the road review like we had today that Casey presented from Russell and Andy Lepisto, but back in 2002, it was their recommendation that the county, with that change and only having 200 feet of Faust Road left, it was their recommendation back in 2002 and never was acted on, but to change that road, make from 641 that 200 feet, and where it continues to Warren Lane, make it all Warren Lane. And the property owners I've talked to, Ms. Carolyn Smith and Raymond Riley, the only 2 property owners on there affected, only 2 houses that'll ever be on there, and they have no problem with it. GIS, there's no address changes or inconvenience to those residents, and they're tickled to death to get the road paved, and it certainly makes it easier to find and give direction to. If you're coming off 641, it's all Warren Lane instead of Faust Road. It's a little more confusing and easier for ambulances and fire to but that was the recommendation of the, what do you call them, road walkers, road review outfit back from the minutes of the meeting back in 2002, just never was acted on, but that's what is proposed to take place. No, it's a county road. It's part of it. Faust Road was a county road, and the county, Russell, correct me if I'm wrong, maintained that all the way back to Miss Faust's house, which now there's a big cable across there, and since 2002, there's been a big cable across there, and that's out of our county road system, but all that remains is 200 feet from 641 up to that cable, then it bears right and Warren Lane comes off there. We're proposing to make it all Warren Lane. And that was the recommendation back in 2002. It just never was. The house cleaning wasn't done, and that's what we're proposing to follow that recommendation. And like I say, the property owners have no objection to that whatsoever.
So, and you say it was already in the minutes?
It's in the minutes of the case you just read me, hour before this meeting started, the minute, because I had talked with Andy and him about making sure there wouldn't have to be any address changes on those two those two residents out there. And he pulled up the minutes and he said that was the recommendation of the road review group back in 2002 when Mr. Reed
Court
decided.
just didn't vote on it?
I don't know. Apparently, no, it wasn't, never was.
No action was taken?
No action was taken. Like I say, I just found this out an hour before the meeting, but that even, which is even just another.
You don't have any landowners then, or we know there's no landowners that have a problem with that. It's not gonna change an address.
Mr. Reed wished to close that and put there's only the Smiths and the Rileys there, and Mr. Reed has closed that and got a cable across him and petitioned this county to close the part that he bought because it didn't want it maintained anymore, and just the same thing we did on Hollinger Road today. Back in 2002, just the housekeeping wasn't taken care of back in the.
We got right up to the point of taking action.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Well, I mean, if, I don't have any objections if, from the sounds of it, there was no vote.
There was, now, originally, after 911 was put in, and the addresses all changed, there was a policy that existed for a period of time where any name change requests were dealt with every other year, something like that, just to keep. But I don't know that in the last several years, that I know there's been some others that have been, there's been 2 or 3 name changes that I don't think that was followed. But
Yeah, that's from the public coming in and changing, not the government. The way I understand that, I
well,
don't
and
know what
I
you're
assume
talking
that was
about.
at the request of some citizen.
No, that was just the recommendation when they went out and looked at that road after Mr. Reed's request to close it. Marty Johnson brought that to the court.
Okay.
So it was a
If
road
you
review.
But it was
recall.
part of the proceeding when the other road was closed.
Correct. And that was their recommendation. They recommended closing that road, and Marty Johnson, on behalf of David Reed, brought it to the court, and they approved that, and they just, like I say, that housekeeping sure wasn't followed through with, and all we're doing is cleaning that up and making it easier.
If that's the case, I don't see any problem with you all voting on it.
Yep.
I'll move that we move forward with that.
Is there a second? Second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Let's see, under.
Thank you.
Yes, under new business, emergency memo of agreement. Brad, you want to touch on that?
Sure. Me and Andy and Kurt met a couple weeks ago about, I guess Kurt went on a training, and we wanted to make sure that in the event of a disaster or something, the courthouse is no longer here. We wanted an agreement in place to partner with the cities, Benton, Calvert, and Hardin, to continue government business. So we had county attorney's office draft an agreement, and you guys have a copy of those. And basically, it's a commitment to provide assistance to each other in the event of emergency, be it building, manpower, but none of it is mandated. It's all, obviously on a volunteer basis, but it's to get this in our records to have that agreement with those cities. And everybody has, both city attorneys have reviewed this and are in agreement with it, so that will be presented to their council for approval as well.
Kind of interlocal agreement to help
Well, it
each
doesn't-
other in
it's-
time of
yeah,
need.
because it's not mandatory, It's based on continued cooperation. It just documents what our position is. It doesn't have to go through the former interlocal process.
So moved, if you need a motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Hey, Kurt, were you here when, I know the judge went out, I can't remember how long ago that was, to CFSB, and they volunteered, I know Brad, I don't know when that was, did you go with us then? Okay, I mean, they've got facilities that they've offered and.
We discussed those during our meeting. We wanted to have, and that is definitely an option if we have a disaster in this building to
A very,
see
very
some-
good option.
Right.
And they've
We
got
wanted to have an additional places as well, because we thought, well, if Benton is affected, then. then the-
Right, I understand.
the
And
bank,
there's
so that's
no-
why.
There's nothing wrong with helping our
Yep.
neighbors, and that's
Yep.
what we should do.
Yep.
But they have offered their facilities, and they've got, obviously, top-notch, first-class facilities, and very gracious to offer those.
We'll move on under new business. We already did the hazard mitigation plan. You've got the letter there that lets you know what we're going to send to the pad office. Concession help, we'll move on. Concession help needed at Mike Miller Park. We have talked to Dennis and Krista, which, by the way, she has done a phenomenal job out at the park. Her and Doug, when we asked them to take up the concessions until we figured out what we were going to do, they have stepped up and have just done a phenomenal job. They don't complain, they get the work done, and they have maintained the concessions to date. But they do need some help, and I'm just asking the fiscal court to give me the authority to try to find 2 to 3 concession helpers for the summer, and understanding there's no benefits. This is basically just the employees to come out and help strictly for concessions. I talked to Emily. I know she's not here today, and Brenda is with us today, but basically in the past, she was saying that teenagers would be hired to come out and work at the concessions or work, and with teenagers, some of them would quit. So it was hard to keep those positions filled for the support. So I would ask that those positions, 2 or 3 positions, we'll just say 3 positions, in case we find some teenagers to work those positions over the course of the summer, one of them quits, that we can replace that position with another teenager so that they can do the concessions throughout the summer.
Move to allow the judge to hire 3 temporaries for the concessions out at the park.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Judge, that's my understanding. In the last
Motion
few
carries.
years, that the county has provided like $13,000 in funds for that very situation. I thought it was in this budget to do this,
It is.
upcoming budget to do that. Anyway, you're just,
Well, I talked to Emily, we're gonna actually, the park accounts, we're gonna get to those here in a second. We're gonna bill.
right, I
for that.
understand what's taking place there.
Yeah.
Dennis has explained that to me, but,
Yeah.
yeah, good deal.
Yeah, one of the positions, I had a young gentleman that's back from college that came in and was asking for from some work out at the concession. So we've got one that's already identified to go out and work at the park. And with the motion that was approved, we'll get one out there for sure. So there's 2. If you know anybody that wants to do that, definitely let me know, because they'll be glad to get them signed up. Let's see. Under new business, close the Park Board Foundation account at Lake Gym. You want to talk a little bit about that, Brenda? Or?
It's a savings account, and the balance right now is $35.46. And Emily just recommends closing it.
Closing it out.
And moving all the $35 where?
Well, there are two other accounts. There's an operational account and
Moving it to
a
one of those.
construction account. So I think I don't really know why this account was ever opened or what's flowed through it in the past, but for whatever reason, it's down to, given that it's a savings account, I think it was probably just kind of to put some money aside for whatever. But it is down to $35, so it's just another account to have to keep up with.
Move that we do so and move it to one of those other two accounts.
Second, all those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Next is, let me see here, change the Park Board Foundation account signees to Emily Martin, myself, Brad Warning, and Dennis Faust. Basically, since we dissolved the Parks Board, those names need to come off, and we'll add these names.
So moved, Judge.
We need to do a background check on any of those people. Or we do?
Dennis, I'd say
Second.
Dennis, we have to. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Next is Fair Dealing Olive Fire Department Board members. I'll read the letter. This is from the Fair Dealing Olive Volunteer Fire Department. Dear Fiscal Court members, we currently have 2 appointed Board of Trustee positions set to expire on June 30th, 2016. We would like to recommend Terry Carbrawl and Matt Hilbrick to replace Benita Walker and Lyle Anderson. Thank you, Jason Accord, Chairman, Fair Dealing Olive Board of Trustees.
Motion to approve those appointments.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next on the agenda, approve.
Kind of difficult to fill those spots, so I appreciate those people stepping up.
Yeah. Volunteerism is it's a challenge.
Thing of the past, isn't it?
It's a challenge, it really is.
Agree with Bob. Appreciate those people coming forward.
Let's see, approve the treasurer's report.
For the month ending April 30th, 2016, the book balances are as follows. The general fund, $784,876.60. The road fund, $269,727.28. The jail fund, $226,425.94. The grant fund, $1,161.38. The 911 fund, $17,694.19. Occupational tax administrator, $3,805,025 even. Veterans van fund, $3,872.97. ABC funds, $26,534.23. And the building inspection fund, $32,572.99, for a total reporting funds of $5,167,890.58.
Entertain a motion to approve treasurer's report, subject to audit.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Approve payment of the bills.
Motion to pay the bills, Judge.
There's a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. I believe that's it. So,
Judge, couple things if you don't care.
sure.
I sent to Mr. Warning the specs. One note, we got on our dual battery systems, not every manufacturer offers that. It's not a deal breaker in any way. But we wanted to make sure that if it's possible to have that on there, because that's a good system to, because as you well know, everything been pretty good off the board.
Yeah.
But he does have that.
Okay. Fair enough. Thank you.
Second thing is, has nothing to do with county business. I just want to invite everyone Sunday is the 133rd Annual Big Scene. Started here in Marshall County. It's the oldest indigenous scene celebration in the nation. And we will have 2 sessions. 10 o'clock Sunday morning, it's a short session. We break for a meal over in the Woodman Building, and everybody's invited to come to the meal. We start back again at 1:15 in the afternoon. That's the larger session, so if you can attend, it would be greatly appreciated. It's a unique event, and it's a lot of fun, so I wanted to invite everybody to that this coming Sunday.
Yeah, I went to that last year, and it's definitely unique. I couldn't do it. I couldn't sing like that.
Hope you didn't
You saw my
participate.
performance out there on
we
the,
saw that at National Day Prayer.
Also, Judge, at 10 o'clock at the Health Department, the ribbon cutting this
Yes.
coming Friday
yes,
for the dental clinic.
the new dental clinic, yeah. Yeah. All right.
Saturday, Sunday also is Kentucky Dam Marina, the Paralyzed Veterans Circuit. They're in Marshall County. They travel the circuit just like Bassmasters and everybody else. So if you're down by the lake area Saturday, Sunday, stop in there and enjoy the fellowship with some of them guys, and they do a good job down there. So,
Yep. I know those guys enjoy that.
yeah.
Some of them, they have to have assistance getting into the boat, yeah.
They're a good bunch of people.
And the men that volunteer their time and the women that do that. I know we were talking about volunteerism, but they definitely step up.
Move we adjourn, Judge.
Second, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.